What is up, everybody? Welcome into Breaking the Huddle. I'm Joel Klatt. This show is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. It is the one that fans deserve. We've got so much to get into. I'm going to give you the teams that didn't quite make my top 10, that will get into my top 10 teams in the country. We're going to talk with James Franklin later in the show after that huge win, Penn State over Auburn in the whiteout. And I'm also going to break down what I thought was the quarterback performance of the week, Jake Haener, Fresno State quarterback over UCLA last Saturday night in the Rose Bowl. But let's get right into it. Lots to go. Okay, here's the almost top 10. Those teams that I really wanted to include in the top 10 but just didn't find a spot. I'm going to start with Notre Dame, 3-0. Listen, this team is working through some issues on the offensive line. I think that they're going to get there. They'll be okay. Florida, obviously, in a loss to Alabama, they showed themselves well, especially running the football. Outrushed Bama by well over 100 yards. Ole Miss is in there. Matt Corral doing a great job. BYU, a couple of great wins against ranked opponents in the Pac-12. Wisconsin is still sitting there. I believe in their defense. And how about Michigan State? Sparty getting things done. Kenneth Walker, leading rusher in the country. Those are the teams that didn't quite make my top 10. So let's get over to the teams that are in my top 10. And we start with Texas A&M. Texas A&M, of course, struggling a little bit on the offensive side. They've got to replace their quarterback, Haynes King. Calzada, a guy that's going to go in there. He's going to get more reps, and I think he's the type of guy that as he gets more comfortable, we're going to see more and more out of that Texas A&M squad. And then as we move up the top 10, Clemson is at 2-1. That was a sloppy game. Listen, Clemson's got to get better on the offensive side. All right, they've scored a couple of touchdowns now in 2 games against FBS opponents. That's not going to cut it. They understand that. I'm sure the defense, very salty. Love what they're doing on the defensive side, but they've got to get better on offense. The number 8 team in the country is Ohio State. Again, questions galore. C.J. Stroud, he's got to get more efficient offensively. Even though they're scoring a lot of points and they're explosive, they've got to figure out what they're going to be on that offensive side. By the way, look for Travion Henderson, the true freshman running back, to start getting more and more carries. Defensively, got to figure it out. They're going through play callers and systems, so on and so forth. Cincinnati, they just continue to roll along. And hey, by the way, Cincinnati fans, are you the best team in Ohio? I think you are right now. With the questions at Ohio State, Cincinnati, you may be the best team in Ohio right now. If you keep plugging along, you may just find yourself as a playoff buster. It would be the first one outside of the Power 5. Number 6, Penn State. Penn State, what a huge win. Now 2 ranked wins on the season. They're 3-0. The whiteout does its job. They beat Auburn. But, folks, it wasn't just about the fact that they beat Auburn. It's also the fact that they have got an absolute playmaker at safety. Jaquan Brisker. This was the 4th down stop against Wisconsin. No, it wasn't 4th down. It was the pick against Wisconsin. Remember, this drive was 1st and goal at the 1-yard line. Wisconsin's going to go in and win the game. It's inside of 4 minutes in the 4th quarter. There's Brisker with an amazing interception. That's an escape, right? They get out of Camp Randall with a win. Well, here they had 1st and goal with Auburn, and now it's 4th down. There's Brisker right there. What is Auburn doing throwing at Jaquan Brisker? He gets the defensive stop. Definitely not pass interference. Both of them going down to the ground. I don't think that was a flag at all. But Brisker, this guy is big in big moments. He plays great in big moments. You take a look at what he's done this year. An interception. It was at the biggest moment in that Wisconsin game. 2 passes defended, 12 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss. He plays up near the line of scrimmage. Folks, Jaquan Brisker is a dude. I cannot wait to see him later in the year. Can't wait to get more Penn State games and talk about Jaquan Brisker with James Franklin a little bit later in the show. Let's continue with our top 10 now as we go with Iowa. Iowa at 3-0. This team is playing great on the defensive side. They've got a 9-game winning streak. They're just methodical. They're getting it done, folks. And they're starting to get a little bit better on the offensive side as well with some running games. So Iowa is going to be at number 5. Then we move through the rest. Oklahoma at 3-0. Oklahoma is a team that I have started to drop down a little bit because we haven't seen the dominance that maybe we thought we were going to see out of them. They get the win against Nebraska, but there were some questions there. Now, granted, I do think Nebraska is a much better team than we're giving them credit for, in particular on the defensive side. But this Oklahoma offense has not shown the ability to be explosive down the field. I think they've got to get the run game going a little bit. I think Spencer Rattler needs to calm down and start to develop some of that timing with his wide receivers. If they can do that and develop like they did late last year, then watch out. That's going to be a great team. But right now, I've got them at 4th in the country at 3-0. As we move up, then we go with Oregon at 3-0. Obviously, that huge win against Ohio State on the road, that's going to pay huge dividends. And their schedule sets up for them to be right in the thick of the playoff race through the entirety. Only one ranked opponent left on their schedule. That's UCLA, who just lost to Fresno State on Saturday. Then we're going to go with Georgia and Alabama. I actually thought about flipping those out with the way that Alabama looked a little bit more vulnerable, the rushing yards that they gave up, the amount of yards that Florida gained on the ground compared to what Bama did on the ground, giving up that lead after a quick start in the swamp. And then I started to think to myself, what program would we think to move down after a win against a ranked opponent on the road? Only one. They are a victim of their own success. Alabama's standard has become so high that when they're in a one-possession game on the road against a ranked opponent, we're like, what's going on? This is crazy. You should be blowing the doors off of people. That line, what was it, 14, almost 15? Should have never been that high. Florida has done a heck of a job, in particular, developing that run game. So Alabama, a victim of their own success. I thought about it, and then I thought to myself, nope, Bama is still number 1. Georgia is number 2. Georgia looks to be maybe the most complete team in the country as they're getting more explosive on the offensive side. Clearly, that defense is for real. And when JT Daniels is out there, like I said, the explosiveness on offense is starting to come to fruition. That East, by the way, with Florida, who looks pretty good, and Georgia, that cocktail party game is going to be pretty darn good. Welcome back into the program. Joel Klatt with you, Breaking the Huddle. How do you play great quarterback? Well, there's a lot that goes into it, right? Do we see it all the time? No. But when we do, isn't it beautiful? Yes. Which is why it was so amazing to watch Jake Haener from Fresno State play the position on Saturday night on the road, ranked opponent, UCLA, in the Rose Bowl. He was unbelievable. All right, look at his stat line just from that game alone. At the 13th ranked team in the country, they win the game 40-37. He's 39 of 53, 455, and 2 touchdowns. Dude played ball. And he did all of this, by the way, banged up, especially late. And we'll see that in just a moment. How do you do this? You know, is it just God-given ability? Well, yeah, there's certainly some of that, but there's also things that you can control, both as a coach and as a player. You know, the elements of great quarterback play have to be taking place in order for you to play well. You got to have great pre-snap and post-snap recognition of the defense. You got to play with great timing. Where's the timing kept? Are you throwing the ball on time? Are you making decisions on time? Are those decisions the correct decisions? And I'm not just talking about where to throw, but also how to throw. Okay, the pitch selection. Are you driving the football? Are you throwing it with touch? Are you layering it over linebackers? Your pitch selection is very important as a quarterback. And then obviously ball placement. Is the ball on time and on target? And you don't really see all of this manifest of someone playing great unless you get to obvious passing situations. When you can do this in obvious passing situations, you are playing some ball. Let's take a look at the film, because this is exactly what happened with Jake Haener. Okay, first of all, this is a 3rd and 24, folks. Everyone knows that he's throwing. He changes the play. Why? He sees man coverage on both the top and the bottom. So now it just becomes, do I recognize leverage? I know I'm trying to get 24 yards. The corner is on top of the wide receiver, so what does he do? He drives the ball. He doesn't throw it with touch. He drives the ball, great decision, on the back shoulder of the wide receiver. He gets the first down in 3rd and 24. Why? Because he had great recognition. The timing was perfect. His decision-making was terrific, both in how he was throwing the ball, where he was throwing the ball, and then the ball placement was spot on. Was that the only throw? Nope. That was just the first quarter. Let's take a look at the crunch time now. Now you're inside of 3 minutes. They got to have it. It's 3rd and goal. What's the corner technique? Well, I'm going to have to see it post-snap. So what do I see post-snap if I'm Jake Haener? I see the corner facing the interior. That means that I can go back shoulder to my wide receiver, but what do I got to do? Drive the football. Look at that small window. The ball placement. The ball is on time. He's banged up, showing some toughness. Look at that. He can barely stand up, and he threw an absolute seed on the outside. That's exactly what I'm talking about, folks. Recognizing the leverage of the corner. The ball is out on time. The decision of how to throw the ball, and it's perfectly thrown. That was unbelievable, but it wasn't all. Guess why? Because he still had to drive down the field. 54 seconds left. They've got to go the distance of the field, and he's got obvious passing written all over it. So now it's about pre-snap recognition. What do we see here? If you're Jake Haener, there's no second-level player. The middle of the field is wide open. So now I can hit the seam, but all I got to do is understand where the leverage of the defender is. The ball placement here is so good. He leads his wide receiver just across the middle. Watch this ball placement. Boom. He knows where he's going. Look at this. This ball is perfectly thrown. Defender has no chance, and he's leading him across the field where he can still get out of bounds. That's like exquisite stuff, but guess what? You still got to punch it in because it's the last drive. You got to get a touchdown. They're down 4. All right, so here it is. Now he starts changing the play, calling the play, game manager. What do we see from the defense? Okay, now I line up at quarterback. What do I see? I see the defensive backs all along the goal line. We got serious soft coverage, which means I can probably throw underneath that, but it really is going to all be determined based on the leverage of those second-level players. Look at him get soft leverage. He's on top. So what does he do? He goes back shoulder again. Oh, my gosh. That throw is so good. I'm losing my mind because the guy is showing toughness. He's showing everything that great quarterbacks have. You go back to the list. The entire game, first quarter all the way to the last drive, in obvious passing situations, he's got great recognition, ball's out on time, his decision-making is perfect, and the ball placement was exquisite. So how do you get to a performance like we've seen from Jake Haener? You start with go back to where we started. 40 to 37, 39 of 53, 455 yards and 2 touchdowns. How do you do that? By what I just showed you. Jake Haener. That was the performance of the week. My man, it was beautiful, like a symphony. When I see great quarterback play, you got to applaud it. Jake Haener, that was great quarterback play. Welcome back into Breaking the Huddle. Now, pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions, James Franklin. Coach, what a great start to the season for you guys. 3-0. You're 2 ranked wins, 1 on the road against Wisconsin. Obviously, last week against Auburn. Really couldn't have been a better start for you guys so far.
Yeah, we're doing some nice things, playing some really good complementary football, forcing turnovers, protecting the football on offense, doing a really good job when it comes to field position on special teams. So, we just got to keep getting better. We took a step in week 1 and a step in week 2 and thought we took a significant step in week 3. We're just going to have to keep doing that all year.
We sat together before the Wisconsin game, week 1, and we were talking about, who was going to step up on the defensive side. You guys have had such star power on that side. And who was going to be those guys that stepped up and led the Penn State defense? Well, Jaquan Brisker is one of those guys. I mean, I know you've got guys making plays. Ellis Burks has been really good. You got guys up front that have played well. Mustafa, I'm sure, has been grading out pretty well for you guys in the interior. But Brisker's ability to come up with big plays at the most important moments in these huge games is uncanny.
Yeah, it really is. I've been really happy with him and happy for him and proud of him. His interceptions, his big plays, his big tackles. He's been physical. He's had an unbelievable offseason. He's just handling things the right way. He's leading the right way. I'm really proud of him. So to see his hard work pay off for him, but really for our program, culturally for our young guys to see a guy that works as hard as anybody have success, I think that sets you up for for success in the future as well.
Those big moments that I was talking about, both of those wins against ranked teams, I don't have to tell you because I'm sure, it gives you a few more of those gray hairs in that goatee, but you had to defend a 1st and goal in a 1-possession game inside of 4 minutes. In both of those games. Coach, I don't have to tell you, the percentage of time that you're going to give up a score in those moments is high, really high, way over 80%. And in both of those series, not only did you not give up a score, you didn't give up a point, not even a field goal. Can you take me through the level of self-belief that your defense has in those moments and what it feels like on the sideline?
Yeah, we're in a really good place, and it's not just the defense. It's the offense having the defense's back. It's the defense having the offense's back. It's everybody coming together on special teams. But we've made big plays in big moments. We're not a suffocating defense. We're not a defense that gives up like no yards. But we bend and don't break, and we do a great job of keeping people out of the end zone. and we've done a great job of timely turnovers. And I think we can have more. The guys are sick of hearing me talking about the jugs machine and the importance of them in our program. But we've had very timely turnovers and big plays.
Well, and on the offensive side, like you were talking about the complementary football, you had to get your feet wet, right? New offensive coordinator with Mike Yurcich in that first half against Wisconsin against a really good defense. There wasn't much going, but then you found your rhythm. Sean Clifford has found his rhythm, it seems like. Jahan Dotson, creative ways to get him the ball. The offense seems to be taking at least steps forward every single week with their new offensive coordinator and getting better and better.
Yeah, I think so. To your point, I think Wisconsin has been one of the better defensive footballs since Coach Leonard has been there. And I think they got a damn good defense this year, and we're on the road to open the season. The Green Bay Packers offered him the defensive coordinator position for a reason. Not probably the perfect scenario to be on the road against a top 5 defense to start the season. But we found a way. And I think that's the thing that I'm excited about is we've been tested. We've played, gutty games and found ways to win, different ways of doing it, different ways of scoring, different ways of coming together as a football program. So, we talked about that last week. We had been tested already this season. They really had not been. And I thought that was going to be an advantage for us. And like I said, we just got to keep taking steps in the right direction.
Well, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining us here. And trust me, bucket list for all of us, but certainly me, is getting to a whiteout game. I mean, I got to experience that. That looks like one of the coolest things on the planet.
Yeah, I don't understand how you haven't been here. It seems somewhat strange to me. But not just you, and I know I sound like the biased head football coach at Penn State, but if you're a sports fan and specifically a football fan, you got to come see it. It is a special environment. It's entertaining. You get caught up in the electricity and the energy of the town. I think we had 109,000 fans. And this isn't a wine and cheese crowd, sitting in their seats. They're getting into it. So we appreciate them.
Oh, there's no doubt. Well, it was fun to watch, and your team has been fun to watch. Can't wait to get with you later in the season and get a few of these big ones that I'm sure that we'll have with Penn State down the stretch. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Joel. Have a great one.
Yeah, you too. Here we are, a little Klatt back. Let's get right into it because these Twitter streets, listen, they're always going crazy. All right, let's see what we've got going on. Telsey actually brings up a great point. I respect you a lot, but you fall into the same trap as everyone else. You can't make a case for OU, Ohio State, or Clemson in the top 10. None of those teams have looked very good this year. Ole Miss, Michigan State, and Michigan should be above those 3. I don't disagree. Telsey, this is why you bring up such a great point, and this is the reason why I dropped my AP vote a number of years ago. I don't want to be a pollster. I don't want to sit there and try to vote and rank these teams. I give you kind of an opinion that is part what a team has earned, part who I think would win on any given Saturday, right? So, like, has Penn State and Iowa earned the right to be higher than these teams? Yes, absolutely. Has Michigan, Michigan State, and Ole Miss? I don't know. Who do I think would win in a matchup between Ohio State and Iowa? Probably Ohio State. Who do I think would win in a matchup between Ohio State and Ole Miss or Michigan State or Michigan? Ohio State. So the ranking is totally imperfect. You bring up an amazing point, which is one of the reasons why I hate preseason rankings, even though that we do them every single week so that we can get fans excited about their team and ultimately make the sport more interesting. But Telsey, you bring up a great point, tip of the cap. All right, we move on. This one comes in from Robbie. He says, Clemson over A&M, you do realize they have a loss and just beat Georgia Tech 14-6 at home, yeah, but screw it anyway. You do realize there was like a monsoon rain issue going on in that Georgia Tech game. I get it. Clemson hasn't looked very good. You mean to tell me that Texas A&M, that only beat Colorado by 1 possession, was going to do to Georgia what Clemson was able to do to Georgia, even in a loss? I don't think so. So, Robbie, I get it. The Aggie fans typically are the most insecure fans in college football, but, let it breathe a little bit, okay? I think Clemson would beat Texas A&M if they played this Saturday. Back to my point about rankings. So they got a higher ranking from me. That's just that's how it's gonna be, Robbie. That's how it's gonna be. Thank you for watching Breaking the Huddle. Can't wait for this week's matchup. We've got Wisconsin, Notre Dame, Soldier Field, noon Eastern, 10 Eastern. Big Noon Kickoff gets things started. They'll be live on site. This show, as always, is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. It is the one fans deserve. I'm Joel Klatt. Thank you for watching, everybody.